presenters?
I mean, the presenter has that mic,
Okay.
so.
morning. I call the Planning and Economic Development Committee to order at 10:17 on May 19th. Will the clerk please call the roll?
All right. Legislator Knapp.
Here.
Mr. Harrison. Here. Legislator Brown. Here. Legislator Eager. Here. Chair Knapp.
Here. Are there any corrections to the minutes of the last meeting? Okay, seeing none, the minutes are approved. So our first item on today's agenda is hearing from Phil Fisher from the CNY Regional Market to provide an update on the regional market. So welcome.
Appreciate that very much. I brought along Taylor Bursabush, the market manager at the CNY Regional Market. So I'll talk a little bit and then Taylor say a few things. And then feel free to interrupt while we're presenting. So let me start out and describe a little bit about the CNY Regional Market and the authority that runs both things that think. Many of the people in the group, maybe all, have been to the regional market on a Saturday or Sunday. And we may have driven through our campus on the way to a baseball game or get onto a train, but you may not understand how the organization is operating. So in 1933, the state legislature created the Central New York Regional Market Authority, and at the same time that they formed the authority, they formed a market district. So we have 7 different counties. So Onondaga is one of the 7. We're part of Elaine County, and all of Oswego, Cayuga, Madison, Oneida, Cortland, and Onondaga are part of our district. And what our mission is to support farmers. And we do that by running markets. And the markets that most folks are aware of are the retail markets. The ones you may not be as familiar with are the kind of markets that are wholesale produce companies operate. We have a campus on the north side of Syracuse, and most times when people are thinking about the regional market, they're thinking about that land and the buildings and the kinds of markets that happen there. But the state legislature set up a board to whom I report, and recently that board was expanded through legislation that Senator Elaine sponsored, and at the present moment we have 17 members on the board. So you're familiar with the joys of dealing with a very large body. There are 12 members that are appointed by county legislatures. So Onondaga County appoints 3 members of the 17-person board, and recently you appointed a new member, Maura Eckerman. Thank you for doing that. She's an excellent addition to the community. She's very familiar with the food system and how to plug folks throughout the food system into what we're doing. And as we try to carry out the master plan that was created for us, thanks to the Onondaga County Planning Department and an expert team of consultants, we believe there's a real opportunity to make our operation the hub of the whole food system within Onondaga County. So the Regional Market Authority is a public authority. So we have specific legislation that allows us to develop facilities for running markets and for any other purpose that serves our underlying mission. There's another one of these authorities in Monroe County, it's called the Tennessee Valley Regional Market Authority. They just handle the real estate, they don't do the market. And Rochester, the city of Rochester runs that market. So we're a little bit unique in handling both the property side and the facility management side, as well as operating the retail markets. So at this point, let me kind of turn over to Taylor Bursabush. So Taylor's been with Regional Market Authority for about 5 years, and she's responsible for the Saturday markets, the Sunday markets, the Thursday markets, a lot of other things that go on. Do you have a question for me?
Yeah, you can segue over there.
Sure.
Just curious as to the, I use an example, the Oswego City has a market of like 2 million. Is that part of this coalition?
It's not. So we could partner with them, and we have partnered with other markets and very interested in doing that. But the farmers can run their own markets, they can run market stands. In some cases, the state has programs that benefit both them and us. As an example, the ability to use the Fresh Connect checks that allow folks that receive EBT benefits to get free coupons in New York State. Those can be sold at farmers markets, whether it's on a property like ours or like
Thank you.
And there's lots of smaller markets, like, starting shortly with the downtown market, programmed by the downtown committee. So it's designed to-
So that's not affiliated with you guys either?
It's not, but a couple of years.
They partner, yeah.
Yeah.
They partner with the
Programs. And we're also right now looking into partnering with Brady Farms. We have a little transit van that we use to deliver food to that downtown market. And right now it's sitting there running and using it. So we're talking to Brady Farm about leasing that to them so they can use it.
How would that be the same possibility for the Bayberry market?
Yeah, we have talked to Brady market. Good. There's somebody we can help them.
Yeah, they make use of that for sure.
Okay. And what we have is relationships with hundreds of producers from all these counties, plus some other counties. Really kind of surprised how far the farmers county defended us. But they are very interested in other opportunities. The farmers that vend on Saturday with us, they might be in Manlius, they might be elsewhere, and they're always interested in finding out about new opportunities to sell their goods.
Okay, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about our retail markets on the weekend. So we have 3 different seasons of the market. Right now we're in our peak season, which is grower season, which is from May until the end of October. And this is when you're gonna get, the freshest in season for New York State, typically about a month from now, month and a half, when everything, right now it's all flowers. And then we have our holiday season, which is from November to December. You're getting a lot of rooted vegetables, more jar goods, a lot of handcrafted items. And then we have our winter season, which is from January until the end of April. And then same thing, you're getting a lot of handcrafted items. A lot of rooted vegetables, jar goods, all that fun stuff. All of our markets operate from 7 to 2 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. We do 52 weeks out of the year. We have a Thursday pop-up market that we do from May till the end of October. That's from 7 to 1. And it's usually pretty laid back when we do that. Just from May to October. And then we just added the night market this year on Thursdays from 4 to 8 p.m. So we will have a night market in partnership with the Syracuse Food Truck Association. So we're going to have a food truck rodeo / night market every Thursday night. We just had our first one this past week. So we'll have at least 10 rotating trucks every week. People can come out and get some produce.
Does the Thursday day market still be on?
Yeah. So that's from 7 to 1, and then our night market will be from 4 to 8. What else? We also, speaking of food trucks, we also open up a hotspot in the market too. So they'll be on the market Saturday and Sundays as well. So we'll have 2 of those in the market. Just in the past week, we've seen a lot more growth with more, quick food on the market and all that fun stuff, especially this past Saturday. So busy season's here. This is our food side. So. Other questions for the garden market?
Sunday market is much different than Saturday market.
Yeah. So Sunday, mostly our food market. We have maybe 10 producers / makers that are on the market on Sunday. So it's a little bit different than Saturday.
Has there been any interest, you think, with the community or with the farmers to maybe do more of the Saturday style market on Sunday?
Yeah.
I think we're missing something there. Like people like Saturday market,
Yeah.
and there's a whole other group of people that like Sunday market.
Yeah, I agree.
But if you miss Saturday, you're wait till next week.
Yeah.
There's something going on. Is there any plans to maybe do something there?
Yeah, we're starting to grow it a little bit more. Just this past year, I've had 2 more farmers that sell meat signed for Sunday. Right now, we have 5 producers on the market that do just fruits and vegetables on Sunday. We're slowly but surely getting there. We're trying to, have more availability for that Saturday night and Sunday. That is one of our goals.
Is that like more of like?
But we also don't want to shy the market 100% out because a lot of them have been on the market for a long time too. the reasons why we still want it Sunday.
I was just wondering, like, if that was dependent on farm schedule, or if it's like more of an intention to make.
Yeah, and I agree. Yeah, farmer schedule. They're down here on Thursdays now too, and like you said, there's all these other smaller markets that pop up, and some of them do the Thursday market in Fayetteville. There's the one in Bayberry. I know a couple do. So that's another thing, picking and choosing realistically what they're gonna. And plus, it's a long day. They come out Thursday, Saturday. They're at our market. They get there. I'm there at 4:30 in the morning. Some are there earlier than me, and then they're there till 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And that's a really long day for them, and plus hour plus travel for some of them.
And one of the things that you'll see that's kind of interesting is that we have produce companies that buy from those farmers. So even if there's farmers that aren't available on Sunday to vend themselves, they can sell through Junta Produce or D'Agostino Produce that have wholesale operations across farmers marketplace, but then on Sunday are starting to come over and sell the farmers' food as dealers. And one of the things that attracts them is we have the EBT tokens, where folks that are receiving EBT benefits can use the SNAP benefits to buy food and produce from our vendors. But they also receive $50 per day per card holder in free coupons from New York State. So a lot of new Americans and other folks living on the north side will come down on a Sunday, and to someone's point, they'll realize the crowds aren't quite as large, but there's still plenty of fresh produce and other types of foods. But there are also more flea market vendors that day, and there might be more music or other entertainment things going on. So we are trying to build the Sunday market up to be the flea market that it's always been, and more of what you see on Saturday.
Yeah, we can also we have 2 brochures on site. So we have the regional poultry market, and then we have the Middle East market, which are both open on the weekend. And they can use the coins there to purchase items and all that kind of stuff too.
As it grows, as the Sunday, Saturday market grows,
So
would it maybe be beneficial in time to dedicate one shed towards just, Saturday market?
Mhm.
So that it's still together, but it's separate, people know where to go.
yeah, so that definitely is a thing. Right now, we've taken the east shed, which is the one closest to the new shed, the F shed, and it didn't sort of have a strong identity. And this year, we offered year-round licenses to our vendors. And instead of having to move out on Saturday at 2 and Sunday at 2 when the market ends, they can stay. And they can build out the store, and they can put in permanent fixtures, and they can store things in freezers and refrigerators. And I think we've already have 3 customers licensed 12 of those permanent stalls now. When you travel around, you go to the ones in Boston or in Philly or in Seattle or in Charleston, you'll see a lot more of this year-round type of store within the market. So that's something that we started on May 1st, and then we're up to 370.
So what's the lead still on something? Years?
Yes, yearly, and it's slightly less than if you bought the Saturday and the Sunday and the Thursday license for the 3 seasons potato. So it's a little bit of a discount, and like I said, it's a very good start. Rochester did that. Some of the vendors that work in both Rochester and Syracuse brought it to our board and brought it to our management team, and decided to try it, and it's working well.
Will there be allowed to be food the same?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we already have. I'm in the works with another vendor right now. They want to put a permanent food in there, and then hopefully we have hours, Thursday through Sunday from maybe 9 to 5, or so it'll be something that's going on during the week on non-market days as well. So I want to think.
It's a wonderful, great change.
Yeah. So it's exciting. Yeah.
And a couple of things that I think people realize is that it's very easy to find. There's plenty of free parking. It's very safe. So it's a pretty pleasant experience whatever day you're down there. We're finding that our vendors would like to set up and then see what happens from there. Another example is the food trucks. So if you come a couple of years ago, you wouldn't have found any food trucks at any time. Now I get it Saturday or Sunday, there's 2 or 3 food trucks On Thursday, as Kara mentioned, we have a food truck takeover every Thursday night. There's 10 trucks every Thursday. A lot of them those nights is a baseball meeting that starts at 6:35 p.m. So we're hoping that a lot of folks will stop at the A shed and go to the night market and maybe pick up some food from the food trucks and then head over to the ballpark and watch the Mets. So I wanted to talk a little bit about other events at the senior regional market. So thanks to the Onondaga County Legislature for appropriating 3 years ago now, a substantial sum of money that first went and they commissioned a study to help create a master plan and a revitalization plan for the entire market. And we're well along in finding funds and planning out and executing phase 1 of that plan. But what one of the things came back from that revitalization plan was we've got these retail shacks and they're very busy on Saturday and increasingly busy on Thursday, on Sundays. And now we're finding use on Thursday night. But there's a lot of other times during the week when nothing's happening. And it used to be that there were concerts at the FDET and it's kind of a thing. We brought that back, and about 3 weeks ago we had 2 Grateful Dead tribute bands, Dark Hall and another one. And of course, because it was the FDET, the event was called Dead in the Shed. And we had like 1,500 people there. And it was a really good turnout. And we've already booked the FDET for next year, and they're talking to the promoter. We're talking about other live events that could be brought there. One of the folks that attended that event was the guy who runs Wolf's Beer Garden in Schenectady and Albany and on Montgomery Street. And they've been looking for a venue to hold World Cup watch parties. So we're going to be having World Cup watch parties for the first 2 days that the U.S. team is playing, which is Friday, June 12th and Friday, June 19th. And then the next round is on Thursday, June 25th. So Wolf's is going to be renting out the FDET, running it at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon until all night. So I think when people see how easy it is to get there, how easy it is to set up an outdoor beer garden between our FDET and our E-shed, more folks that are creating events and producing things will realize, hey, this is an alternative to the Inner Harbor or the very square downtown. So we're very excited about those opportunities to take the facilities we already have and repurpose them and get other types of activity happening.
Well, I just want to mention one of the cool things that happens as well is a few years ago, the Ag Council helped the Syracuse Food Rescue Network get up and going. And so on Saturday markets, a lot they'll come at the end of the day down, and a lot of the farmers who have things left over either will donate it to the Food Rescue Network or pennies on the dollar, and then they can take that fresh produce or whatever and deliver it to the various pantries and et cetera around the city, around the county. So just another working together thing that works out really well.
Yeah, I know it's like a Taylor in her country.
Yeah, no, we do that a few times a year. Like I have some North Side Committee people that come and they clean the markets and hand out for some of their neighborhood events and all that. Moral Salsa, they come and they clean the market and stuff too. So it's a really good program.
And then on Thursdays, beginning of July, I think, the your Department of Aging and Youth has senior coupons.
Yep.
And they come down and set up a stand and they hand out what's the program?
Yeah, so it's the FMNP, New York State Farmers Market Nutrition Program. So they get $25 worth of coupons to spend on the market to get fresh produce. So they do that every year, and they typically start in July, and then we'll have Peace Corp come down, and we kind of tie it in. We do senior lunches with them, and then we do the coupons. And Thursday becomes a little bit of a senior market from about July till September, which is in that. So.
And sometimes those groups come from other counties, so the United Nations sends folks to.
Yeah, they come at least twice a month. And yeah, it's United Nations nursing home. They come down. We have a couple of nursing homes that come down, cost some of their residents, and they buy some of our coins to get them money to spend on the market.
And Peace Incorporated comes to one of our organizations.
Yeah, so we do 6 lunches with them, 6 Thursdays in a row.
we're trying to get the word out. It's a very easy place to find, and if you're bringing people on buses or if you're coming by themselves. One of the interesting things, the city has announced a mobility plan, and they're going to be improving the entire perimeter of our campus and the areas between our campus and the train station between us and the baseball stadium. And we're going to be adding 10-foot wide shared use lanes. They're going to be adding some bicycle lanes on the Parkway. And as that happens, we're going to be improving the various entrances to our campus to make them more welcoming and more identifiable. So when people drive by, they're like, what the heck is that? Eventually they're like, oh, this is what it is. And there's variable message boards and other things to explain the different events that are happening. Hopefully we'll get folks that are used to coming there for Saturday markets coming there for a whole lot more.
Might go back to the beer garden. Like the tournament. That's gonna happen quite soon.
Yeah, June 12th, the first game. So 3 o'clock on June 12th, Bosnia Herzegovina plays somebody. And we know that because our accountant is from Bosnia, and they were seriously, her family was thinking about going up to Toronto. It was going to cost them like $5,000 or something. And they're like, that's crazy. But we expect to see a lot of Bosnians, and there's quite a few in Syracuse, and more in Utica. So that's at 3 o'clock. And then at night, the U.S. plays Paraguay at 9 p.m. And then the following Saturday, 3 p.m., U.S. plays Australia. And then there's other games after that. But they'll be renting out the Ashdown and using the area around there. And, assuming nice weather, they'll be able to open up those garage doors and people will be able to mow them out and be food trucks. And
This is gonna be wonderful. It's gonna be absolutely great for the entire county. But I do have a question, because I heard that Fife is actually requesting licensing to do this.
Yep. So Wolf's is partnering with FIFA, I don't remember, and they're working particularly with Michelob Ultra, which is like the official beer. So they've got all the rights to do what they need to do. And then one of the things that we're going to be completing between now and then is getting high-speed, free internet into our shed. So when you go there right now, you use your phone, and our vendors use their phones to take your money. And on a really busy Saturday, it can be hard to actually complete that transaction. So they have to put Square or Clover or whatever in the offline mode. So we're going to be adding high-speed internet. We've already added it to the HTAB and sooner we'll add to the others. So that our vendors will have a private, secure, PCI-compliant network for their point-of-sale devices. If you're there as a guest, you'll have free high-speed Wi-Fi. And if you connect to it and give us, let's say, your last name and your phone number, like you do at the airport, you'll have a landing page that tells you about the different things that are at the market that day. We're also going to have a virtual LAN that has high-speed connectivity so you can stream that game into the shed without worrying about people stealing all that. So we dedicate the thing to that. So we're doing things that would take to really host these types of events. That would be a very modern experience for the public, which is every day they get more
Not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but if this goes well for the World Cup, is there a possibility of having other launch parties in the future?
Sure. Yeah, Syracuse University Sports to begin with. That's pretty obvious one, right? World Series, Buffalo Bills football game.
Yeah.
Bills fans there. Yeah, we'd love to see that. And, we're open really every day. Our office is open Monday through Friday, but Taylor and her team are on Saturdays and Sundays. You can always come down and visit us in our office, or give us a call, or shoot us an email, or a text, and we'll get back to you and let you know what availability there is for the different markets.
If you go into your kitchen, you look here in the past.
Sure. Yep. You bet.
Thank you.
So, as you probably saw, because there was a lot of news about it, we have completed the funding needed for phase one. There's other funding that we needed, but the $18 million that the Senator and Rally announced that was part of the UNK budget is going to allow us to build a 40,000 square foot modern food chain compliant warehouse. And what that means is that our produce companies, some of whom have operated in our market since they came over from the grocery market in 1938, they don't have the kind of equipment and facilities that are needed to sell into the modern, highly regulated food system. So they were at a point where they were looking at having to move away from our market. One of the things that makes our market unique is a hybrid nature of it. We've got the retail market, which a lot of folks have. We also have the wholesale market, which some other folks have. But in Philly, there's a wholesale market in one place and the ready-to-eat markets in a different place. We combine them. And we were at risk of losing the Russo produces and the Ducas and the Diacostinos and the Piazzas in the way that we lost Mezzo and Syracuse Banana and Amy Produce once upon a time. So by building this new facility, we're going to be able to do two things. One is make sure that they can continue to compete successfully and that their businesses can continue to employ people they do. And they tend to buy more food locally than the US Foods and the Cisco's and the other competitors, but don't care quite as much for where they source their food from. The other thing it will do is as we move them out of the commission warehouses, and those are the buildings that you drive towards the stadium when you get out of exit 23 on 91. On the right there, those buildings, those are warehouses. And when we move our produce companies into the new facility, 40,000 square feet of space will open up. So our plan in phase 2, which is probably a couple years away, would be to repurpose that. We use historic tax credits and other financing alternatives to build those things out into retail space. That would be available every day of the week, the way you see it, the ready for the market. Into event space where you might have a wedding or other type of events. There's a space in there beautiful. And opened in 1938. That beautiful woods, that fantastic steel structure with a lot of history there. And as we do that, we're going to be developing the other parts of our property. There's a lot of vacant land on our property. Some of it we're going to be partnering with the private sector. We've got about an acre and a half at the corner of Park Street and ABT Bank Parkway. If you're going on Park Street and you want to go left to Destiny, that's the intersection I'm talking about. If you turn right, you go to the train station. This time next year, if you turn right, you're going to see a burned area. So they're buying that parcel from us, our board has already approved it, and they're going to be building a deli and market. And some of their markets, including this one, have a lot of fresh food. So they're going to really focus on that and really try to make that convenience store something that fits in very well to everything else that goes on in that campus. So it's a very, very exciting project. We know that the funding is there. We haven't seen the budget. We don't know quite how or when the money is going to flow. We have other sources of funding to now get back to the development of the design. So we've got a conceptual plan. We've got some schematics. But as y'all know from being in government, you need to then go get the construction drawings, we can do the bidding processes, or construction managers, unlike you guys, we don't have a facilities management department that can go do this for you. So we have to kind of do it over again. But I've heard something when I was at the county government about how to get those things built. So I was very confident that they can build. But things don't always go off schedule and don't always go to budget. And we're going to fix budget, so we've got a lot of challenges. So really setting up that budget.
I'll just wrap it up with a couple of years ago, the state comptroller did an audit, and it was really devastating to the market, and there was a real concern that the market would close or declare bankruptcy, whatever authorities or agencies do. But we were able to get Bill to come on board and take over and use his expertise, and and he's been able to turn it around. Not quite out of the woods yet, but I think we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I don't think it's a freight train. And so thanks to Bill for volunteering to come in and take over this challenge, because it's been a challenge. So just wanted to throw that out there to remind folks where we've been and where we're going to here.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you for being here. I just want to mention a couple, I think, key milestones. And Dave, that was a perfect segue, really. Way back, I should mention my connection to the market goes back to my youth, not only picking the produce that was there, working out with farm, but then delivering it down to all those places that aren't there, which is kind of sad, right? But the timing of what's happening now is really good. I think the second best thing I've been involved with since I've been here is being a part of the process to convince the county executive that this investment that was really the spark, the catalyst for everything that happens moving forward. Certainly members of our state delegation had talked about wanting to help, but no help was really taking place. The county stepping up as it did really got the ball rolling, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that the Ag and Farmland Protection Board, which I've been on since day one here at the Ledge, stepped up and passed a formal resolution saying the market needs to be a priority. It's the hub, okay, for what's happening out there in agriculture and what our community needs from it. And the result is fantastic. I'm really standing to just say congratulations on what you've done. I love the vision. I love where things are going. But I think above all else, I like the strategy. Bill, you were a pain in the neck when you were in county government, but I love having you over there. So, but no, really, this is great, and I congratulate you guys on the progress that you're making. Obviously, we're very encouraged by what the New York State budget holds for you over there in our community. So keep up the great work. This is so exciting for me to see it kind of come full circle like this.
Thanks for the statement. And if I could say, as I mentioned, our district has 7 counties in it, but this is a county that took the lead. And did something you didn't have to do. This is a state entity. This isn't like a county thing. It's one of 7 counties. And you didn't have to do what you did, but without that, you really would have been on the rocks at this point. And there is an opportunity to expand it and do more things in other counties. I think that's part of the long-term strategy. But the farmers that really come to our market will tell you they get markets for things that they sometimes can't sell. They can't sell at the same market. And if the folks that come and buy that fresh produce we're talking, they say, I can get fresh, healthy produce for my families at prices that I can't find anywhere else. And with coupons that give me another $50 of buying power every time I come down here. So really this is important. I think that the county has done, but I just wanted to thank you all for your past support. As I mentioned, we've got 3 appointees joining Elaine from Delaney Farms. Another very active member of our board. I think her term comes up in the next year. If you could persuade her to keep going, that'd be great. I've heard that she might be keeping on there 10 or 15 years. A lot of people on our board have been around, for the good times that, there was a big project around 2000 and then we started to slip, and now I think the board is an excellent board. We're blessed to have folks that are, as those that have said, focused on the strategy, letting the management team figure out the day-to-day tactics.
Thank you so much.
Good job.
Thank you. Who is the Senior Manager of External Affairs at Micron, to give us an update on Micron, where they are now, and answer for Elaine, I assume, some of our many questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And again, I probably do have questions, so I'm not going to try to move through this relatively quickly, but feel free to interrupt me as I'm going through if you have questions. I think, the intention here today is sort of the beginning of it. I want to be a resource to you. My job is external affairs, but it's primarily a government affairs role, so I want to be a resource to you all. And point 2 is that, I'm not a construction person. I'm not a procurement person. I'm not a workforce person. I'm not an operations or environmental health and permitting person, but I work closely with those parts of the organization. And so if I can answer a question today for you all, I want to work together in the future to bring in those people so that you can hear from them directly and have the conversation that way. So, a little bit about Micron. Again, 55,000 employees nationwide. If you go out to Boise, Idaho, you'll see the 61,000 patents on the wall. Something similar like this is pretty cool. 13 different manufacturing sites in 13 different cities. And the only U.S. manufacturer of memory. There are several memory producers in the world, but Micron is the only U.S. memory producer. And so, what is memory, right? I would venture to sit today, if you were to open up your cell phones, if you were to open up that laptop, if you were to go out to your car, it would absolutely have a memory chip in it, and more than likely have a Micron chip in it. A lot of the growth that we're seeing now is in the data centers and in the cloud, which you guys read about. But significant part of the market, and as for capabilities that are happening, is that what we call the edge, which is our phones, our laptops, our cars, embedded systems, our vehicles, power systems. The demand for our products is going to continue to grow, and really, these products in many ways are becoming some of the most valuable products in the world. So this is a look at our global expansion projects currently. Obviously, the Clay, New York project is the largest. It's the foundation of it all, but we are currently undergoing expansion projects in all these countries. Me, myself, this is the center of our universe, but the Micron's expansion is global, and in a lot of respects, is required to meet the demand that we have upon us. But underpinning all of that is our U.S. expansion. $200 billion over 20 years. So $50 billion of that is R&D. And being the only U.S. manufacturer of memory, it's really important that we're developing these chips in the United States, making them, but also researching and developing them here. And I think as we, regardless of where you feel about artificial intelligence and where this is all going, the technology, it's critically important that we in the United States do it well, do it right, and do it better than anybody else, and memory is an essential component to artificial intelligence. And so this expansion, we feel, is obviously important to Syracuse, it's important to Idaho, it's important to Virginia, but it's really important to the country. Right now, we're at about 10% of our about 10% of our manufacturing footprint is done in the United States. It's all done in the U.S. These projects together will get us our manufacturing footprint as a company for DRAM up to 40%. As far as globally, the global memory market, only 2% of the world's memory is made in the United States today. It's all done by Micron at our fab in Manassas. So these projects really, and so we hope to, with these projects, to bring the U.S.'s global memory footprint up to double digits. So $50 billion in R&D, $50 billion for two fabs in Idaho, an expansion of our fab in Manassas, Virginia, and then underpinning all of this is the $100 billion investment here in New York.
If roughly 2% of the world's memory is made in the U.S., and you want to break down very massively with dollars.
It's I would say primarily South Korea. So the other two, so there's 3 DRAM manufacturers in the world. Advanced DRAM. There are other memory makers, but advanced DRAM, which is the memory chips I had on the screen earlier. Micron, SK Hynix, and Samsung. SK Hynix and Samsung are in South Korea. And then the other manufacturing happens at our locations here on the screen. And then China as well has a couple memory manufacturers that are growing and advancing their capabilities. So in a way, we're in a competition as a country, as a company, and so most of it is done in the chip today. Probably, I don't have the exact number, but I would venture to say 98% is all in the chip. So I think it's important to note this photo. You have a Democratic governor, 2 Democratic senators, a Republican county executive, a Republican Trump administration official. I think this topic, this area is bipartisan because of the stakes for the country. And I think because of the economic opportunity that it can create. 2.4 million square feet of clean room space. So each fab is about 600,000 square feet. That's the size of 10 football fields. That $20 billion through the end of the decade, that just gives you an idea of what we're actually going to have to spend before we get a single dollar revenue New York. It takes a while to build these things, and things are going well for the company right now. But for a project like this, it's going to take time for it to become profitable. Those economic impact numbers are from non-micron numbers as an independent study that the state commissioned by Remy. You can go, that's online. You can go and look at that. About 800 million in new government revenue, and about 16.7 in real economic output. I've given a lot of these. I've been with the company almost 3 years now. I've given a lot of these conversations. It is nice to be able to get them on the other side of the project actually beginning. We began the project in January, and we're on to the mass excavation and aggregate phase, all to effort to pour concrete by the end of the year. This year, you'll see the horizontal work happening. It's a lot of site preparation. And then next year is when we start to see the project go vertical. 2030 is the operational date. These things take a while to build. We'll certainly look at all avenues we can to move that and so on and so forth. But we got a couple of years for this thing is operational, and the impacts from that become real. I think in the meantime, it's a construction project. This is a rendering. Again, when complete, it will actually be a mile end to end. It's over 20 years. The big, long rectangles in the middle are the fabs, but these facilities come with many other buildings, wastewater treatment facilities, central utility buildings, test and probe buildings, administrative buildings. You'll see, I think it's important to note right now, I think a lot of the feedback and concerns we're getting, I'm sure, our clay legislators are hearing on the truck traffic. I will say that we have near-term traffic improvements that we're looking to institute in partnership with state DOT, as well as long-term traffic improvements. I do believe that this project can be a catalyst to invest in some of that. Anyone who's driven in that area knows it has been developed and beyond the capacity of the roads. But I think this project can be a catalyst to institute some of those efforts.
Joe, if I could,
Yeah.
just real quickly, as I've been out chatting with people, one of the things I've mentioned is that we'll see a lot of So in the very near term, one of the things that I mentioned to people is that we're expecting to see a lot of that truck traffic mitigated with the onset of the rail spur, right? Is that still on track for the summer completion date?
Yeah, we're looking at the late summer, early fall, and absolutely. We would love to start with the rail spur earlier, but we have to do it in conjunction with the environmental impact statement. So the rail spur is one. Additional exit and entry points along 31 and Cottonwood, looking at traffic light on Burnett Road. We purchased land that you saw in the news recently to build another access road all through 11. So all of those things together, the traffic impacts will be quite heavily. I think longer term, as the state and the federal governments need to do another environmental impact statement for the traffic and roads, and that will include some of the larger long-term improvements, new exits, widening of roads. So there's a plan in place. It's going to take some time with the review process, but yeah, the rail spur is going to be a key asset for that.
I was on the rail spur, so that's why I was just saying just how important it is.
So-
And I want to know, when it's going to be completed, but you've answered that question already. And then, how is it going to affect the traffic? I want to say east. I know west, we do have traffic issues as well, but east is going to be the system. I mean, 81 juncture, has the state have any plans yet to correct the?
So if you look at SMTC has some, they're already kind of studying this as the Metropolitan Transportation Council that we have here. And I while I can't speak for what the environmental impact statement will recommend by state DOT and the Federal Highway Administration, I anticipate you're gonna have a new redesign of the I-131 exit there, and then another exit up near Snow Road. So you're gonna create, multiple, pressure valve releases on I-131 east. Both of the I-131 interchange, which is from the SDPA, and another exit on Snow Road. That though will need to be informed by the City Department of Transportation, by the decision that they make based upon their analysis. But I think we're all anticipating that that's going to be.
Without like, right, that would be
I can't speak for that, but I don't think so. They would have already done it. Keep going? Okay, I'm almost done with this. This is a rendering of what the fab will look like. Pretty cool. Doesn't look like a big hunky manufacturing facility. There will be, those are EV charging stations in the parking lot. We will do solar panels on the roof and other areas that we are doing it. We can't see on the site now. The site will be surrounded by stormwater retention ponds. Like all projects, we make sure there's no runoff and the like. We've hired Elaine to do the horizontal work. We'll be hiring another construction manager to do the vertical work soon. So this is important. These numbers are actually out of date, but I wanted to include them because I think it's important for context. Before there's a single job at the fab, we're going to need thousands of construction workers, thousands of them. And we don't have that many construction workers here. But I think it has the ability, like the region that we're in, some of the existing programs that the region has worked on, Syracuseville, Pathways to Apprenticeship, some of these other, Oswego, where you saw in the newspaper yesterday, is a similar program. This has an opportunity for the region to really be, to support the project and work on the program. It's really important for us to hire locally for many reasons, and it's important for people locally to have opportunities in those jobs. Because it's the right thing to do. We're targeting 80% for at least the early work. We're going to evaluate that as the new construction manager comes on. But as you can see, like this is a career. I will say to you that this region, I've mentioned these, but this region does an excellent job of workforce development programs in the trades. We also have a project and labor agreement with the Central and Northern New York building trades. So, essentially these aren't direct micron hires, right? They're the contractors hires, but we encourage them they have to follow the PLA and source locally. They go to the union hall, the union hall can fill a job. If the union hall can't fill a job, they can go to an entity like First Source Hire, Syracuse Build, Oswego Build, and pull those things. On-Ramp's doing a good job of setting up an infrastructure to do that. But I think when it comes to project execution, having qualified, skilled tradespeople available is going to be probably the single most important thing to get this facility up and running. And when you couple these thousands of jobs with the thousands of technician jobs that will be at the facility, you're talking thousands of jobs that that are good middle-class wealth-building jobs that don't require a 4-year degree. We need the engineers, we need the scientists, we need them too. But for those who don't go that path, there's going to be opportunities in whether it's the skilled trades and construction or the skilled trades in the fab. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for folks.
On that slide, can you just take us through some of the, obviously, there's 3 large peaks on there, on an earlier slide, I think it's in the first page where I was in 23.
Yeah.
Can you
So
take us through which?
So I will say that this this chart is publicly available in the environmental impact statement. It's a little bit out of date because, as you can see, we didn't get started in 2025. So I would think about this as almost shifting right a little bit. But those peaks are the other fabs being built. That peak, the first peak and the second peak are fabs 1 and 2. The third peak is fab 3, and the fourth is the fourth fab. But I would shift that a little bit right a little bit, because again, and the other thing about this chart, again, it's out of date, but I wanted to show it. It's going to take us longer to build this than so that's part of why you see it doesn't really make sense because it is a bit out of date. Well, I'm not holding it, I'm not
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
hold you, but construction projects can be late sometimes, I'm not trying to,
Yeah.
you know.
But that peak, that first peak and then quick valley and peak again is 1 and 2. So they peak out as you get to the, so, you know, it's a, you build the fab, you build the shelf, and then tooling is like the really, like, intricate part where we're gonna need a lot of electricians, HVAC workers. And so you peak out and then, it valleys a little bit and comes back up with that too. So these numbers will be updated in the near term, and to give a more accurate. I wanted to give a snapshot though of the scale which we're talking about here, because I think that some people, you know, I don't really know how to use build things that well. My wife criticizes me for it, but a lot of people like working with their hands, and this community has a long history of building stuff. And so I think I'm really excited about the construction job opportunities. And I would say if you have, you know, your constituents, make sure they're reaching out to the unions, to Syracuse Build, to Pathways to Apprenticeship. Ebony Farrow runs a great program there. Chris Montgomery at the soon EOC. A lot of construction trades programs are being built. We want to thank you for that. All right, I know that I'll get through this and you can ask me questions. Okay, but this one is also very important. These are sort of the community investments we have made to date, in areas of the community, in education, and in workforce. We announced we'll launch an express line from Central. We're trying to time the start of that up with some of those high peaks of trades because we want to make sure it gets a lot of use. But that's going to be an express line from downtown to the site. We made an investment in the Central New York Housing Fund launched by Empire State Development that's going to support housing in the region. P-Sync and the YMCA and childcare, probably about $1 million between the two of them that we've given, and those of you who have seen the most exhibit. Help launch the Syracuse STEAM School, long-term commitment there. We've helped purchase some equipment and design some curriculum at the school. The advanced technology framework is with 10 school districts. So Syracuse, ESM, Liverpool, North Syracuse, Baldwinsville, Chittenango, Watertown, Niagara Falls, and 2 high schools in New York City. We're partnering with New York State teachers unions in those schools and helping them design curriculum to bring it to the schools. We don't want to design the curriculum, we want to equip the teachers to go in and design the curriculum. Corcoran P-Tech program, who's familiar with the P-Tech program? Essentially allows you to start taking college credits in high school, particularly community college and technology focused. And so we've launched the P-Tech program at Corcoran, a grant to SUNY Oswego, to help. You know, if you talk to Warren Hilton here at this school, he's going to tell you I have no issue getting students into the program. I'm having trouble finding teachers to teach it. So SUNY Oswego is a great entity to help partner do that. OCC Clean Room Lab, if you guys are walking out of here and want to go take a peek, it's a pretty impressive lab. Partnering with JCC, Jefferson Community College, to target transitioning Fort Drum veterans to keep them in the region. Similar program with Syracuse University's IBMF. And again, OCM BOCE, the apprenticeship program in the construction trades, they are targeting adult learners to be entering into the system. So, and then we do about $10,000 a year match for our employees. So this is just the beginning. I think this is, as someone who lives here and has lived here and is from the region, like this stuff's important to me because I think the intention here is to open up opportunity. And you can't just open up opportunity if you're investing in at the college level. You got to start in school, and you got to focus on the things that are around someone who's looking for a job, like housing and childcare. We're also going to have a childcare facility on site. And then lastly, this is just our downtown office, which I'm excited about because I don't have to work from home anymore. So with that, questions?
Thank you. So one thing I would like to start with is we're hearing a lot from residents that they have questions. I'm sure we have a lot of questions as well. And this is a very large project that's really going to impact not only Central New York, moving forward. Like, what's the best way that we can make sure that residents are getting their questions answered? Or like, how can we make sure that community engagement is really open?
We can do a better job of that.
you know, these public studies, and then I would say, and that's something we're working on and discussing, and agree there's a need there. And I'd say in the near term, if you have a resident or a constituent that has a question, send them to me. I'm doing that to an extent with the town of Clay, because, you know, the town's getting a lot of people calling, not necessarily from the legislators, but the town themselves. Send them to me, but I agree with you. We have to do a better job of coming out and talking about the project. I think a lot of the past couple of years have been, we were trying to get through the environmental review process and then get the project started. But you're right. What I will say is that there's plenty of time to answer and be able to do that. And I'll, you know, think we're going to work on that. But in the near term, send them to me.
And then with all these different elements, it's a little tricky to know where to go to find all the different pieces. There's the wastewater part of it, there's the construction part of it. And so again, if there's any suggestions on how we can kind of gather this information so it's more easily available and more in a comprehensive way, I'm open to it.
So we do have a Micron New York, a micron.com/New York website that we're constantly editing, and there is a lot of information on there for people to find, but you're absolutely right. And I think as a takeaway from this meeting, maybe we'll set up a separate discussion of how we can kind of follow through on those things.
Any other questions?
You mentioned the express line in Central. I guess what's the status of that, and what is the parameters from the hub?
It's going to be from the hub. How many stops along the way, I don't know. And the timing of it, we're in discussions with Central now. As I said, like, you know, right now, if we were to do it, there's not the volume of workers on site is not there. And so what we're trying to do is work with Central to target perhaps next year, 2028, to really when the volume of people are on site to start that. I think the other piece is that, you know, Central has the infrastructure. I'm not going to speak for Central, but they can execute this pretty quickly with the funding from us. So more to come on that, but likely we're trying to stagger it in a way where it actually, what I've told I don't want to start this now and no one knows, and then we say, oh, we tried, you can't use it. Like, we want to time it with when the volume is going to get there. And we're talking to Central and them, our teams right now. So more to come on that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, it works. Back to that community investment slide that you had. Can you talk about that fund? And I'm sorry, I don't know the specific name of it, that you and the state created, and what the situation is with that and timing, things like that?
So, and all of you can go on and read the community investment framework. That is an agreement with the state of New York. It has many components to it. The biggest component is $500 million community investment fund. That's $250 million from Micron, $100 million from New York State, and then $100 million from other partners. And those other partners could be the federal government. Those other partners could be philanthropy. I think, you know, we're discussing on how to execute that portion of the plan, but the money that is there and that will be spent, particularly for Micron, is $250 million. There are several ways I would say people can go about submitting ideas to us. The first is it's got to be one of the 4 pillars of the community investment framework, and that is education, workforce, housing, and community assets. Now that last one is pretty big. So it gives, and I will say, you know, each Micron in New York State will decide on their own how to spend that money. We'll work together. We did set up back in the summer of 2024 a portal where we got like 250 submissions to it, and we're not even Micron's a corporation, they're not a grant making entity, so it took time. But some of the projects that came from that process, so the Central project came from that process, the Peace Inc. project came from that process. The SUNY Oswego STEM educators came from that process. So some of the BOCE's apprenticeship program came from that process. So we'll likely do that again. But, you know, we're a little bit more flexible. You know, the state has to follow the process with state money. So the likelihood is they can't just decide. You know, if people have ideas for things that want to get funded, send them to me. Again, I'm in government affairs, I don't have a budget to give community projects, but I do work closely with the teams, and if you have ideas now, send them to me. What I would say is, try to think about the phase of the, so again, construction is a big one now, right? Or construction workforce support. So think of like the phase of the project we're at. It's a $250 million commitment over 20 years. We haven't spent 50 million, but we've committed 50 million, and we haven't even started. And technically, we don't start receiving state incentives until we're operational. So we're still separate. So we're trying to get going on it and making it. Look, selfishly, this stuff is as important to us as it is important to the community. Because if we don't have the workforce to support us, we won't be successful. So if you have ideas, send them to me, and I think the more than likely we'll probably open up the portal again, and people could have a fair shot at submitting it. There was a lot of interesting submissions. Someone asked us to build on a house. Hadn't seen that.
You said no to that?
We said no.
No. Worth the ask.
Maybe not exactly along those lines, but could you just maybe describe in a little more detail the CNY housing fund?
Yeah, so this is something, again, Micron isn't going to be putting its thumb on the scale to say how projects are being funded. So the state established this program. There's a $30 million seed grant from the state of New York. And they contracted, and then in addition to the $30 million seed grant, their local financial institutions, MBT Bank, M&T Bank, Community Bank, Bank of America, several financial institutions put low-cost financing into the fund, and Micron is also putting $30 million into match the state. So it's a $150 million fund that will be administered by the Community Preservation Corporation, CPC. They're a local. I'm using a lot of acronyms out, but they're a CDFI, which is a Community Development Financial Institution. They're required by federal law to, support things at low interest in communities and have some guidelines. But CPC is administering the fund, so it won't be New York, it won't be Micron, it will be CPC making the best decision on what projects to fund. The intention is to it to be a last dollar in sort of fund. And so the way it works is that the banks will ultimately get interest back on their low cost financing. But the state's loss in our grant is going to be first. That's a grant that stays in the fund, and it helps bring the rates down for CPC to get projects out the door. What I would advise folks to do is go on CPC's website, and if you have projects in your region that you want to report, they would probably be willing to sit down with you guys to talk about this. It might be helpful to reach out to New York State USD too. But this is something that I think we are not going to get involved in which projects are ultimately supported or funded or where they are. The intention is to get Micron liquidity into the central New York housing market. And it will target not just Onondaga County, it does target Oswego, Cayuga, Portland, and Madison.
Thank you so much. And this is the start, as you said, this is the start of the engagement. I'm sure we will be.
I'll send you guys the link. You can Google, but I'll make sure you get the link. And I would reach out to CPC too. Yeah.
So thank you so much. I look forward to continuing this open communication, as I'm sure questions will continue to be raised. And this exciting project continues to move forward. So Thank you so much for your time.
I need it. I'm a resource, and I love, again, over time to get the technical people in here to talk to you all and ask some pointed questions that you have, because we have a lot. So appreciate the time.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Sure the legislature can set on.
Sure. Okay, next time we have some county business to attend to, and Troy Wagner is here from the Onondaga County Planning to discuss next steps with the agricultural.
Morning. Legislator May, sorry, those presentations were timely. When I look at the growth in Micron in Central New York and the growth of the regional market, and one's going to feed off the other. New people coming in, the expansion, that kind of stuff. Very little on Micron, located in the regional market. It's a great story to tell. It's nice. So we have two resolutions. First is approving the inclusion of viable agricultural land generally within certified agricultural districts. Pending the hearing that's coming up on June 2nd to get public input from it. This would include 250.68 acres of new land going into Ag District 4. Which in this case, it's 3 properties in Onondaga and 1 property in Lafayette, which is also home to the Lafayette Apple Festival. Yes. And, generally the public hearings are not that controversial. People generally support this into the program. The Ag Districts has certainly provided a lot of benefit to farmers in Central New York. And I think God and Onondaga County were blessed with mostly prime agricultural soils throughout our country.
Any questions on
I'll move it and just want to, this goes for the B as well, as far as the Ag and Farmland Protection Board does a lot of work on this. They vet every single application for inclusion and if somebody wants to get out. So again, Leader May is the legislature representative on there. He's been there for 15 years. Brian Reeves has led the group for I think the same amount of time. Does a wonderful job, and they put a lot of work on this. And our staff in the legislature does a boatload of work on this. This is really a function of the legislature, and a lot of communicating with property owners, a lot of folding and stuffing, basic old stuff. So just wanted to give a shout out to the staff for all their help on this.
And then I give a second. All in favor? Great. Thank you. Okay.
The second resolution is specific to Ag District 1. It was their 8-year review this year, which, among other things, allows obviously for property to be added, but also for people to remove property. But part of that is, staff does a survey of everybody who's in the district. They get a lot of comments back. We address those comments as they come in. And just a good review of the Ag District. This year, there is going to be, we have requests for 120.55 acres of land to be included in Ag District 1 and 17.1 acres with an asterisk because Scott Eddinger in the town of Tisco actually filled out to have land removed. We did it mistakenly, so he'd like his name stricken from the removal. And it could be do that as part of the committee meeting. It's 1.36 acres.
So does he want to take it out?
Yeah, no, he doesn't. He signed up to take it out. He does not want to take it out.
Oh, okay.
But to have it remain in.
Okay.
So I think we're looking for a motion to approve the modification of Agricultural District 1 with the amendment of removing Scott Eddinger's parcel from the removal request. That's what I have.
Try to make that motion based on what you just said.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And, all in favor? Okay. And before you go, I did want to bring up so I wanted to just bring up something for next meeting. We're hearing we're hearing from committee members and I wanted to let everyone know that we're hearing from residents for the desire for the county level study on these proposed data centers as these infrastructures impact more than just the local municipalities. They definitely have a regional impact with their infrastructure, with their energy, water, and land use. So I'm looking into this and hope to bring a resolution to our committee in next month in June for consideration. And so if anyone has any thoughts on that before that meeting, please let me know. But I wanted to let everyone be aware that we are looking into that. And if there's any concerns or if anyone has any suggestions, then I would love to hear that.
If you look at the how many towns currently have moratoriums or are looking to get moratoriums?
So far, town of Skinny-Atlas has put forth, these are referrals to the county planning board. So we say what happened.
Yeah.
Town of Skinny-Atlas has put forth, I believe, an outright ban on data centers. Town of Lysander, which the planning board positioned, put forth a moratorium. I think it was a 6-month moratorium on data centers, and we received a referral from the town of Denton for our next meeting. We'll also a 6-month moratorium. And I think you're probably going to see more of this. And the technology is coming much quicker than people are prepared for, especially, you know, you can expect towns to have that kind of expertise on the local level, to understand the water ramifications, electrical ramifications, everything you hear about. You know, like it's the groundwater development. It's probably a lot of that's going to happen.
And the point of those pauses is to look into it, to study it, and I think hopefully the county can provide some resources there. Thank you. Last on our agenda is to schedule a public one of our committee public hearings, followed by a special meeting of this committee for next Wednesday, May 27th at 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. at the North Syracuse Junior High School to discuss pilot agreements and economic development with members of the public and school board members, or school board officials, to see kind of how these are working, how they are impacting our communities. So this would be an opportunity for the public to share their thoughts on pilot agreements. We would have time reserved for at the beginning of that meeting for public comments. Then we can discuss with municipal leaders, including school districts, kind of how it's working and how we continue to work together. This should be a learning opportunity to go through how those pilot agreements work, as well as listening to hear how, again, these are impacting our municipalities and school districts as we see in the news, right? These budgets or local municipalities are moving tighter and tighter. So again, this is an opportunity for us all to work together and to ensure that we're moving forward for the success of our communities. Does anyone have any questions on that meeting?
I do quickly.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Maybe I missed this schedule somewhere. Is this the first one here?
This is we put it on our agenda
Today.
No, one of the agendas went out last week. And that ongoing conversation of how website really impacts us. We are continuing that conversation. Any other questions? Oh, yeah. And it will be at North Syracuse Junior High School, and I really appreciate them for hosting us that night. Yeah.
I was going to say that the main school on. Oh, the old North Syracuse High School.
The junior high school, it says.
Yes.
We'll make sure everyone has the location.
Yeah. Why don't I go to Route 31?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there going to be a sort of contextual component to this public hearing, or is it just going to be straight one way for the public once it opens?
For the public, I think we'll get those comments, and then we'll be able to kind of discuss what those comments are after
Okay.
that part. So we'll have a session for the public comment, and you can leave a public comment, tell us what they're thinking, and then we'll.
But no contextual information prior to that or presentation?
We may have a presentation also just like how
That'd
it's
be
working.
cool. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and so I don't think we need a motion for that, but just to make sure everyone is aware. So with that, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Sorry.
All in favor? Great, thank you. The motion is carried, and the meeting is adjourned at 11:30. The Planning and Economic Development Committee will reconvene on Wednesday, May 27th at 4:30. Thank you.